Hey guys!
Hey.
Oh, you sound so sweet. Hi, guys.
Why don't you talk like that more often? It's Janelle. Get closer. Come on over here, Janelle.
Hola.
And we're just like,
Well, yes. Today it sounds like a weird topic, but it's actually it's very thought provoking for me. So before we get there, go ahead.
Sorry.
No, because it's like about. It sounds like it's about death, but it's not. So first, make sure you share us, like us. It just helps with the algorithm with Facebook. Get the word out. You know, if you like, especially if you like the topics. No, like and love me and Kelly over here, this side.
yeah. Love you guys.
So we're looking at an article. It's a 27-year-old woman who died of cancer, and she left behind a final post that her brother shared because he felt that a lot of us can learn a lot from the things she learned in her short life. And so when Brian and I looked at it, we were kind of thinking like, man, why does it always take somebody that's dying or somebody that's sick to get us to think about these things? And then we hear it and it just kind of passes and we're like, oh, and then we move on. But we still don't get to the point where, as healthy individuals, in the prime, let's say, of life, or in your 50s, 60s, as you're going about life, we never live like today was our last day. Like we struggle with that.
What stops us from doing that?
Right. What stops us?
Because
so.
her answers, you can see in the article. We'll post it here, but it's nothing that would surprise you.
It's
You
and
know,
we
she's
hear it all the
basically
time.
like, oh, I thought I would grow old, but I'm not going to.
Yeah.
Thought I'd have less kids, but I'm not gonna, and that's sad. And I wish people would stop worrying about the small, meaningless things in life. I wish we'd stop fighting. We should give more. Stop complaining about work and exercise. Like, it's just lots of stuff that you would, like, we know this.
We know this, and then we're still all surprised. Like, if we get sick, like, oh my goodness, life is short, and I should have spent more time with my kids or my wife. All the time, but you hear the same thing being said. So, what is it that stops us?
From living like today is our last.
Right.
Ron? You're closer to your last.
Thank you. Oh my goodness.
You knew that's what I was doing.
Oh, no.
I knew it was coming
I didn't
eventually.
mean to do it. So.
I think one thing is we're so practical. You get started in life, you know, you get through high school and then you go into a career, or maybe you go to college first, then you get in a career. But you got these steps, and then it's like, okay, I've got, if I want a house, I've got to save money and start making payments, car, student loans. So you get into a routine, and somewhere along the line you get married, and then kids come along, and so there's always, you have to work. You need money to pay your bills, feed your kids and your wife, all that stuff that's going on. So you just get in a rut. And for most of us, I think we continue working on and on and on. And one of her points was we should work to live, not live to work.
Right.
Okay, got that terminology right. Which I think sometimes we get backwards. We get so obsessed over time with the idea of, you know, if I work a little bit harder, I'll get that next raise, or, you know, I'll get a promotion to this position, and I'll have a little easier, or maybe it's status you want or whatever. So I think that's part of it, that we just get in a rut.
Yeah.
Hey there, we got Jeffrey's back and Callie's back. Hey, you guys.
Michelle says she's back from the Rocky Mountain vacation.
Very nice.
She says she was busy living for today.
There you go,
Good
Michelle.
for you, Michelle.
That's how you do it. Brad with us. Not sure we've seen you
Hey,
much,
Brad.
Brad. Good to have you with us.
Hey.
Callie, good morning.
Now, in this woman's post, she says, I just want people to stop worrying so much about the small, meaningless stresses in life. But do they feel small and meaningless when you meet them face to face, the stresses of life?
Yeah. I mean, our teens is a perfect example. The grind of life does not seem meaningless when you're living through it.
Yeah,
but
when the
if
kid sasses
tomorrow,
back to you right now, it doesn't feel small and meaningless.
yeah, but God forbid if they were in an accident or sick the next day, you would look back and be like, oh my goodness, we could have spent that time bonding instead of fussing.
So then what keeps us from having that perspective?
Yeah, go ahead.
It's tough because, like you say, you don't look at it as the big perspective, that the whole of life. This is small, but you're looking at it in this 60-second moment. That sass is really important, and I need to put that down and put him in his place so that he knows I'm the boss, because that I need that relationship for the rest of the 18 years he's under my roof.
By the way, Benny is back. What's up, Benny? He says, great words, Ronicus.
Ronicus.
Thank you, Benny.
Today would be Ronifer.
Jennifer and Aaron and Lisa are on, and Danetta. Good morning, Danetta, and Tammy. I haven't seen Tammy in a while.
So what keeps you from? And okay, first caveat I have to give on this is that over here is Miss I don't know anything but merengue. Anytime I bring up pop culture from the 90s, this woman's like, what? I've never heard of that. I don't know the Cosby Show, and yet she mentions to me before we go live on this.
Oh my God.
Right away she thinks of Tim McGraw's song,
I love
Live Like You Were Dying.
Tim McGraw, and when I put him on, Raina, she's in the back like singing it.
Who are you?
She is awesome.
Was this the merengue version?
Humble and Kind, don't you love that one? Oh, you got to hear that one
I don't
by
know if I
Tim
know
McGraw.
that, but Live Like You Were Dying,
I think most people know that song, but
Classic.
how do you know that and you don't know Back to the Future?
I don't know. And then it's country music. I don't even like country music. But his music and like Carrie Underwood, I'm like, wow, I can listen to this.
But that's a very country kind of thing, and that's a very country anthem, Live Like You Were Dying. No one does that.
No one does that. And then when I looked at the background of the music, he wrote it because of his dad. And so it brings me to like, it's always because you've been impacted by an illness or a death that you get that. But then we let it go.
Right.
Like, for example, her second point, she says, take a big breath of that fresh air deep in your lungs. Look at how blue the sky is and how green the trees are. It's so beautiful. Think how lucky you are to be able to do just that. And she's like, I would give anything. Why can't we have that attitude? We're so busy on like the next thing. And I'll read this and be like, oh my goodness, yes. But then we let it go and move on. I do that to Len, and sorry, but when he's like fussing and overwhelmed with life, I'll be like, babe, if any of us like get sick tomorrow, you're going to look at this stuff and be like, oh my goodness, was it really that serious?
But okay, help me with this. I want to do that. I want to take it all in, breathe a big breath of fresh air. So this weekend, somebody had to do this. Well, somebody had to. I got 2 dogs. They're both big. And if you wait for more than a week, there's a lot of cleaning up to do out in the yard, if you know what I'm saying. So I'm spending 20 minutes walking around. I'm not smelling fresh air. Not being serious here. Like, how am I supposed to take it all in when I'm picking up dog poop for 20 minutes and go, doesn't get better than this? Life is good. I'm well enough to crouch down with this grabber and pick up dog poop.
So
because of the alternative that you might not be well enough.
Well, then someone else would have to
be
pick up
laying
the
in
dog
bed
poop.
with
But
a,
then also you get the cute fuzzy like puppy kisses and then the wagging tail.
But I think a lot of people are like me, where it's when you're in the middle of that, it's really hard to disconnect and go, that could be worse. I could be sick and not able to pick this up right now.
Lillian
Because it
says,
could be better. I could sit down and not do this right now.
Lillian says it's the tyranny of the urgent. And
Yeah.
which,
Ooh, well
yes,
said,
that
yeah.
gets me. So
Did you make that up, Lillian?
Ooh, that was good.
Based on what you said, my question then is it unrealistic to want to live a life like that? The Bible says to make the most of our days or of our everyday,
Redeeming
to be
the time.
mindful that our life is like mist, to be mindful that you don't know what tomorrow may bring. So can we say it's unrealistic, or should we say no, we are called to make the most of today, to count our days? In the Bible it says, teach me to count my days. So we're supposed to be pursuing that mindset. So are we caught up in our culture and just saying, well, no, I just got a lot of stuff to do? Or maybe are we not realizing, like, no, you got to fight your urge and adopt that mindset?
But see, Solomon's perspective is just a little different, though, than that. Optimists,
It wasn't. Well, yeah, it was in
optimists
Proverbs.
want us to believe that we're supposed to be happy about everything all the time. When Solomon in Ecclesiastes said in a long series of poetic ways, life is horrible and unfair.
Yeah.
So all you can do really is try to enjoy life and food and your spouse and your work. Sounds depressing, but he's saying, try to find good things, and there's a little bit that you got that's good. That doesn't sound like super live like you were dying, does it?
So then maybe her perspective is the one that's wrong. Maybe what we're saying is, of course, when you're sick or all of us, when we're in our deathbed, we're going to say, I wish I would have spent more time. No, you're just saying that, right? Are we?
It sounds dismissive of stress.
Right.
Like, you shouldn't be stressed because at least you're not dead.
So isn't that?
Well, you're laughing, but that's what she's saying. I don't want to be mean. But
I think a lot of what she's saying is things that we all say at points in time. My kids have reached this milestone, and they're moving on from nursery school to real school,
Yeah.
and then from 6th grade to middle school, and from 8th grade or 9th grade, however you break that up, into the high school. And each of these steps, we look back and we're like, wow, how did he or she get to that point? Where did the time go?
Yeah.
And so we all regret and lament that loss, where we can try to be more aware now. As each time you think, I've missed so much. Well, try to bring it back. Not that we ever will. Kind of like the pursuit of holiness. We're all sinners. We're fighting that sin nature. We'll never completely conquer it until we're in heaven, where God will take it away from us.
Amen.
And I don't want to. These are some great points. What I'm saying is, I don't want to. It's easy to be like, well, of course you're going to say that, and not take on the challenge. Like, man, maybe there is something to learn from that perspective. Christy says, great question. Many times we do not leave margins in our lives to even be still, much less live like today could be our last. We need to be purposefully unbusy with life to have that kind of mindset.
Yeah.
I once heard in teaching that it's not good to be busy being under Satan's yoke. Since that day, I have slowed down and not jam-packed my calendar, but made purposeful decisions on how I spend my free time. I think her perspective can help us be intentional.
Just slow down.
Because even in the beginning, her brother said, we're all headed there. It's not like, maybe she's the one with a short life. Like, we're all headed there.
Right.
None of us will have enough time.
Yeah, some of us closer than others.
Right.
Yeah.
Brad said, I can only speak personally, but I believe my answer is easy. I have a tendency to do the opposite of what Scripture teaches.
Yeah.
There are so many passages that warn and encourage us to live by faith and not by sight. But I have a tendency to live by the old adage, I believe it when I see it. Scripture teaches the opposite. For our light affliction, which is but for a moment, is working for us a far more exceeding and eternal weight of glory. And he quotes 2 Corinthians 4:17.
It's good. Thanks,
yeah.
Brad.
That's good.
Michelle's asking a question. Is she speaking of stress or of being appreciative, aware of the good around us? It sounds to me she's saying keep your eyes and heart open, just as a reminder, while we still have the opportunity.
Right.
I think that's a good distinction.
Her first point was don't focus on the minor stresses of life. And that's where the stress one came in. But she's got 20 points or something on this
I love
list.
that
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, because it's not necessarily just stress. It is. She's generally speaking, she's saying be grateful, be appreciative, as Michelle brought it up.
My favorite one was something to the effect of live a flamboyant life if you want, and if you don't want, don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because so many people seem to be like, if you really want to have a life that's worth living,
Right.
you have to visit all 50 states. You've got to see the Louvre in Paris and the Eiffel Tower, and the list goes on. And then you start to feel pressure like,
Yeah.
well, I haven't seen a lot of that stuff, and maybe I should. But I have no desire. I got pictures.
Yeah.
We've talked about
Yeah.
that before,
Yeah.
but it won't make a difference to me if I ever climb up the Eiffel Tower or stand in the Red Sea and float because of all the salt in there.
So I know
It's like
it's
the
not
Dead Sea,
realistic
yeah, whatever,
for us
something.
to do this all the time. But what have been things that you've done that has helped you kind of slow down and smell the roses? Do you have a favorite?
See, you know me. That's hilarious. Right. Yeah, I'm with you. At least 51% of the time, we should be having this disposition.
Yeah.
But you're giving me that, like, 49% where I can be crabby.
Yeah, be crabby, but tell
Okay.
me of your 51, because there's different ways of being mindful of the
Self-talk.
present.
Self-talk. Where I normally would have, like, I don't like being in the same place with strangers for a long period of time. And this weekend, I spent from about 12:30 to about 12:30 at the Cuyahoga County Fair, and mostly sitting in the Cow Palace.
Yeah.
I'm not a farmer, but my daughter loves this, right? And so there were some, like maybe a total of that 12 hours or whatever it was. There was, maybe an hour where she was out there doing her thing.
Yeah.
And so I had to just go, you know what? You're going to have a good day. This is great that you're here with your daughter.
Mm-hmm.
If I would have let just, like my mind take its toll, I would have been like, wow, this seat's uncomfortable. Who did they make this? Who designed this, that this would be comfortable for me in the bleachers? And it smells in here, and it's hot, and it's this, and it's that. I'm hungry. No, I think it's, some of it's self-talk.
Self-talk.
Saying, be grateful.
Yeah.
Be here. And
Yeah.
it sounds weird, but it's true.
Callie says, I have 3 kids, which makes me slow down and appreciate the small things that God has blessed me with. She brings up one of my favorites. One is fighting my urge to multitask. Like staying in the now. If I'm cooking, I just multitask. And to be present with the cooking and the smells. I don't do this every day, but that's a favorite of being, of staying in one task or in one moment. The other thing Callie kind of brought up, kids help me do. Like if I go on walks, we do the Metro Park a lot and do hiking a lot. They bring you to like, do you realize how you can go on walks and not hear the birds, not look at bugs,
Yeah.
not look at like, oh my goodness, look at these cool flowers from my neighbor. Little things like that. Your brain's going, you're like looking at where am I going, your mind's going. And so letting, let's say my 5-year-old take me where she sees and being mindful of the sounds and even helping her see like, wow, look at that deer. It sounds silly, but it's stuff that I'm like, oh my goodness, I remember being a kid and the wonder of nature and like, whoa, look at that. Remember blowing the, what are those called? The
Dandelions?
Dandelions.
I know, yeah, I know. It's corny, but it was a big deal when we were like 7.
Yeah.
So
Now I can think
letting
about
my
spreading dandelions all over my yard.
I know. My allergies are just...
Yeah.
okay, but in whatever way, it could be a lake. But I think letting kids, for grandparents, that's a big thing. Letting them take us. What about for you?
I
What's
think
the thing?
for me, the challenge is not disengaging too much. Because I think being single, you can say, I'm not going to meet up with anybody today. I'm just going to watch Netflix. And so...
Sounds great.
I know.
Yeah, it does.
But the thing is, I can get too caught up in that I miss the opportunities to engage others or to just even be more active, saying like going on a walk with somebody or just meeting somebody up for coffee and engaging someone else. And that can still be restful and like taking time to just be calm. But it's a hard balance because there's also this challenge of wanting to do everything because everybody else is doing everything.
Yeah.
And needing to say, no, I need this like alone time, but being active in alone time. That would be my challenge.
One other challenge, not that we need challenges in life, but sometimes, I mean, it could be like a challenge every 6 months. What I'm saying is sometimes we got to catch ourselves and be like, man, let me do this. Calling somebody you haven't called in a while. For me, it's like, let's say a cousin. Because we're so busy, especially when you have kids or grandchildren, and you forget, like, oh my goodness, I haven't called my aunt so-and-so in so long. And then you'll realize that it'll be at a funeral or it'll be that you'll be like, oh my goodness, I'm not staying connected with certain people. Right. My mom helps me with that. Like, have you called so-and-so? And you can get caught up in your circle and disconnect from people that you really care about. It's just that life has
Right.
Right.
Well, this is going to sound weird, but I have one more thing I could do for this in terms of like living like you're dying, focus on the positive. It's that oftentimes, especially when your kids are in the teen phase, your life is not your own anymore. All you do is stuff you don't want to do because it's stuff that for your kids.
Yeah.
Like a lot of things you do, I'm sure you'd rather not sit at the pool and watch and watch people swim.
Yeah.
Okay, if you're going to make a list of things to do, that's not it. So plan to make the best of it.
Yeah.
What could make this fun? Maybe I'll bring my book. Maybe I'll bring my headphones and listen to a podcast when in downtime. Maybe I brought a little cooler with me to the fairgrounds this weekend. Put my favorite snacks in there, a couple things to drink, and it was just like, you know what?
Yeah.
Because I think far too often I don't plan ahead, and then I end up letting myself get frustrated by the moment and stressed because I don't have X, Y, Z. Bring it with you.
Yeah. I love that because it is that commodity that you will never get back, as opposed to money and everything else. Right. It's time. So like you said, if you're sitting there for the 12 hours all mad, it's 12 hours that were just gone. And like you said, if you use it for something else or just find the best in it, it's like what the Bible says, teach us to number our days. It's a way to make the most of the days and the hours that the Lord is giving you right now.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I have had some measure of success, believe it or not.
That's
I had a good day at the Cow Palace.
Aww.
Never thought I'd say that.
That is cool.
How do you guys get past the like, well, what if I did this? Or like, oh, I wish I had done that.
I don't struggle with that.
I still think about it constantly.
Do you?
You do?
Yeah.
That's surprising.
Ron Eastwood, Mr. I'd rather stay home?
Sit down.
I'm
Tell
not gonna pay
us,
for a movie?
please.
Oh, well, it's not those kind of things, but it's life decisions. Like, if I would have taken this job instead of this job, what would have happened? If I would have gotten more into running in high school instead of just limping along, I would have been a better athlete and our team would have performed better. You know, and that's, like we know, 40 years ago.
How do you, because those thoughts are not productive. We all have them. How do you manage them, fight them, or do you not fight them? You just kind of just deal with them?
I kind of just let them pass.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, well, you can go run now.
Yeah.
That goes out real quick.
Yeah.
Or you could sit there and watch Netflix.
Were you talking more on the social media thing of like, oh, I wish I could travel like so and so, or I'm missing out, kind of thing?
There is that, but more just in life, kind of like Ron said. Like you look back and be like, how do you not like dwell on the what ifs of life?
I get that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, what if you'd accepted that date with Brad Pitt all those
Oh,
years
man.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know. Do you struggle with that, you know?
I think we have enough life. I know you like that. To have a lot of what ifs.
But you're not a person who's, what if I would have done this, what if I would have done that?
No,
you're a
obviously
person who's chosen a path. You don't seem to look back much.
I don't
regret.
look back, and I know there's the big what
Why?
if. I could have gone corporate, and there's
You
no
could have worked
going
for
back.
NASA for crying out loud. Why don't you spend all your time going, I could be in space right now?
That's right.
I let my why and like my where I'm going kind of drive me, you know? And so it just helps me be like, I'm here and I'm going to make the most of being here. But those are the bigger ones, like the career choices or relationships.
Right.
It's like, making the most out of that decision. So like you said, there's the fork. You got to pick one. I believe very much. I tried early on in my life not to believe the lie that you can do everything. I think women have been told that lie, and it's crazy. And so I said, if I'm going to be 100% somewhere, I want it to be in my home and pouring into whatever. And so I've just said, this is what I picked, and I'm going to make it worthwhile for me. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The other road, it would have been like, okay, I had to pick one. You can't be everywhere.
Right.
You know? And I don't know if you feel that, but women were told that a lot.
Oh, there's
We
times
can
where I'm like,
cover all
no,
our bases.
you need to be able to do everything, and you just
No, it's
can't.
a big lie.
Yeah.
And so I think what I want to teach my daughters, and what I've tried to do, is have peace with you can't do everything. And whatever you do, you better be faithful. And then just be there.
But also take big risks when God calls you to. Like you
Well, yeah.
abandoning your career years ago.
Yeah.
That was a big risk.
It was,
And you
and
can walk away going, God sent me here. And there's
that's my peace.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That wherever
You don't
God
wonder what if,
sends
'cause you went for it.
is trusting, you told me to come. So I think that brings a lot of peace.
Which surprises me about you then, Ron, because you lived in Guam for a while. Like you really did a big radical yes for God at a part in your life.
Yeah.
And you're going, wow, I did that. You're not going to wonder what it would be like.
If I hadn't done it.
Yeah, that was a big move.
Yeah. And I'm glad I did, and I think it was helpful to the mission.
Yeah.
But
It's still a battle.
yeah, that one.
We all have those battles, right? They're different.
Yeah, I knew God was calling me there, so that doesn't come up like, well, what if I hadn't gone?
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's the other choices that you make in life that you're like, well, does God really care if I eat Burger King or McDonald's today? And he probably wishes I didn't eat either one of them, to be quite honest.
True.
Yeah. But I like the challenge of just being mindful of making the most of today. Like you said, even if you're somewhere where you don't want to be.
Yeah.
And I had those with toddlers, please.
Every day.
Even though the big picture was like, oh, the Lord has me here, please. There were many days I was like, are you serious? Like, get up again and wipe butts again.
Yeah, that a solid decade of life was doing that. It's just like, really? This is what I'm supposed to do?
And that's okay. And I'm saying that to release some people. Because I know sometimes women, I'm just going to speak for women, we feel guilty for feeling that. You can be serving God and be faithful and have days where you're like, I really don't want to be here.
Right.
It's okay.
You know, and it's not necessarily good. I'm just saying it's real. And I
bet
think
there were
God...
Human.
I bet there were days Billy Graham got up and thought, I've got to prepare for another crusade.
Oh, that's good. I like
Yeah.
that.
Blasphemer. He never did that. It was perfect.
Yeah.
Of course he did that.
Ooh, right. I'm going to look up that song. He said there's a song that says, I want to do it all. Being busy, 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 and not possibly able. Have you guys heard that song? Clark song?
Terry Clark? I don't know.
Yeah.
No.
And somebody else, ooh, this looks good. A poem called The Road Not Taken. Ooh,
Oh,
Robert
Frost.
Frost. I love that. Yes,
So
I love
good.
that.
Yeah.
Love that.
Definitely something to check out. But hey, this has been another fabulous edition of Overtime. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
Mañana is when we do...
Hasta mañana.
That's not what you
See?
say.
Hasta luego. Hasta mañana. You know what that means? Until tomorrow.
Well, right.
Hasta luego means until
Till
later.
later.
You're learning.
Well, yeah, but you don't say hasta luego.
Why are we doing? Hasta luego.
Hasta la pasta until spaghetti.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah, that's
See you
true.
later.
Oh, God.